highway is a kind of promise. You have trusted it your whole life without ever once thinking about it. The green sign that tells you the next town is 22 miles out. The white line and the shoulder beyond it, wide enough to limp a dying car onto. The idea so deep in you that it isn't even a thought, that if the worst happens, someone will come. A phone will have bars. A trooper will roll up. A tow truck exists somewhere, and it can reach you. That promise is the real thing a road gives you, not the pavement. The pavement is just the part you can see. There is one highway in America built on the opposite promise. It runs 414 miles straight up into the Arctic, and it was never meant for you. It was meant for freight. It was meant for the men who haul fuel and steel and food to the top of the continent. And it makes them exactly one guarantee, that if something goes wrong out here, in the cold, in the dark, in the dust, you are on your own in a way that most Americans will never once be in their entire lives. The truckers who drive it for a living, men with 30 years and 1,000,000 miles behind them, still talk about it the way you'd talk about a stretch of water you almost drowned in. Not with bravado, with respect, and something underneath the respect that they don't always name. Today we're driving the Dalton Highway, the road they call the Haul Road, from the last gas station in the trees to the edge of the Arctic Ocean, mile by mile, through every named place along it that has put a truck in a ditch or a driver in a body bag. And we're going to end at the one stretch that even the men who run it every week will tell you quietly is the part they never stop being afraid of. Before we start, if you're the kind of person who likes to understand the country you live in, all of it, including the parts built for no one, take a second to subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel. And I want to know one thing while you're here. Where are you watching from? What's the worst road you've ever driven? Drop it in the comments. Let's get on the road. The Dalton does not announce itself. It begins about 80 miles north of Fairbanks, where a smaller road runs out and the pavement gives way, and a sign warns you that what is ahead is different. Built in 1974, in a single furious construction season, it was never a scenic route or a public highway. It was a supply road thrown down across the wilderness to feed the building of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, and that pipeline has run beside it ever since, silver and strange, snaking over the tundra on stilts, the only man-made thing for miles. For its first years, ordinary people were not even allowed on most of it. The public did not get the full 414 miles until 1994. It has always been first and last a road for trucks, and you feel that the moment you are on it. Within a few miles, the pavement is mostly gone, and you are on gravel. And the gravel is the first thing that starts to work on you. In summer, it is dust, thrown up in blinding brown clouds by the tankers that own this road. Dust so thick that for long seconds you cannot see the front of your own hood. And somewhere in that cloud is 80,000 pounds of oncoming steel that cannot stop for you and will not. In the wet, the same road turns to a grease that pulls at the wheel. The rocks it throws crack windshields and shred tires as a matter of routine. This is why the car rental companies in Fairbanks will not let their vehicles anywhere near it. They cannot insure what the Dalton does to a car. You cross the Yukon River early on a wooden-decked bridge that is one of the only ways over that river for hundreds of miles in either direction. And then the country begins to swallow you. Cell service is already gone. It does not come back. For the entire length of this road, there are no bars, no data, nothing, and even a satellite phone can lose the sky in the wrong valley. The way people talk to each other out here is the way truckers talked to each other in 1974. A CB radio tuned to Channel 19. A crackle of voices calling out their position. A convoy coming. A slide on the pass. A four-wheeler in the ditch. If you don't have one and you don't know how to use it, you are deaf and mute in a place that will not forgive either. You pass a hill the truckers call Gobbler's Knob and a place called Finger Mountain, and you start to understand something about this road from the names. The men who drive it named every dangerous inch of it themselves, the way sailors name reefs. Oil Spill Hill, the roller coaster, the shelf, and one grade so steep and so feared it's simply called Oh Shit Corner, because that is what you say when you come over the top of it and see what's below. These aren't tourist names. They're warnings passed by voice from one driver to the next for 50 years. Around mile 135, you pass a clearing in the trees that looks like nothing at all. A few flat gravel pads, some old foundations. This is Prospect Creek, and it holds a record that should tell you everything about where you are. On January 23, 1971, a thermometer here read 80 degrees below zero, 80 below. It remains to this day the coldest temperature ever officially recorded in the United States. And this is not some remote peak no one visits. This is right beside the road you're driving. Trucks run past this spot in the dead of winter, in the dark, at 40 and 50 degrees below. And a man who breaks down here without the right gear does not have hours to solve his problem. He has minutes. The cold up here is not weather. It is a predator with a number, and the number is 80. At mile 175, you reach Coldfoot, and Coldfoot matters more than any place its size has a right to. It is a truck stop, a fuel pump, a handful of buildings, one of only 3 places to get gas on the entire 414-mile road. Fill up here. Look at it. Because when you pull out of Coldfoot heading north, you are leaving the last real services behind. And ahead of you lie 240 miles with no fuel, no store, no help, nothing. That is farther than the distance across some entire states, and there is nothing in it. The whole road passes through maybe 3 tiny settlements holding a combined population you could fit in a school bus. When the highway closes, and it does close, the state estimates it costs around $1 million a day, because everything the top of Alaska eats and burns has to come up this single thread. North of Coldfoot, the trees begin to give up. They get smaller, then sparse, then gone. And the road starts to climb toward a wall of mountains that has been sitting on the horizon for an hour. This is the Brooks Range, and there is exactly one place a road can cross it. Everything on this entire journey, every mile of dust and cold and isolation you've already driven, has really just been the approach to this one place. The truckers have been thinking about it since Coldfoot. Some of them have been thinking about it since Fairbanks. Attigan Pass, mile 244, elevation 4,739 feet, the highest mountain pass in Alaska that's kept open year-round, and the only pass through the Brooks Range that a road touches at all. On a clear summer day, it is one of the most beautiful things you will ever see from behind a windshield. In winter, it is where this road tries to kill you. The grade going up is punishing, steep enough to bog a loaded truck to a crawl, and the drop off the side in places is straight down into white, so that a driver in a storm genuinely cannot tell where the road ends and the fall begins. But the grade isn't the thing. The thing is what hangs above the pass. The slopes over Attigan load with snow all winter, and that snow comes down. It comes down in avalanches big enough to bury the road, and a truck with it. The danger is so constant and so serious that the state station's crews here who fire artillery, actual howitzers, at the mountainside, deliberately triggering slides to bring the snow down before it can come down on its own onto a passing rig. They've built gates across the road to slam it shut when the danger spikes. to physically stop drivers from climbing into a slope that's about to let go. It is not theoretical. In the winter of 2017, 4 trucks were caught in avalanches on Atigun in a single night. One of the men driving that night was named Chuck Williams, 34 years behind the wheel. 22 of them running this exact road, about as far from a rookie as a driver can get. He said the snow hit the side of his truck, and for the first few seconds he didn't think anything at all. He just held on. He heard the slides that came after. He lived. Not everyone who has gone off this road in this place has. And that is the point about Atigun that the truckers understand and the tourists don't. It doesn't matter how good you are. Experience does not buy you out of a mountain deciding to move. The best drivers in Alaska climb this pass with their hands tight on the wheel because they know exactly what it can do and exactly how little say they have in it. If you make it over the top and down the north side, the world changes again and somehow gets lonelier. The mountains fall behind and the land opens into the north slope. A flat, white nothing of frozen tundra running clear to the horizon. No trees, no shelter, no landmark, just the road and the pipeline and the wind. The permafrost here is so deep and the ground so unstable that in one spot, a slow-moving mass of earth and ice, a slump the crews nicknamed the Blob, has been oozing toward the highway for years, threatening to shove a section of it aside so that they've had to pick up the road and move it out of the way. The land itself is trying to erase this road, patiently, the way it erases everything up here. And then, at last, mile 414, you reach the end of it. Dead Horse, on the shore of the Arctic Ocean. A raw, industrial camp of gravel and steel serving the Prudhoe Bay oil fields. There is no town square here, no welcome. It's the terminus, the reason the whole road exists. And even here, the wild has the last word, because polar bears wander the edges of this place, the largest land predator on Earth, drifting through a gravel lot at the top of the world. So here is what this road really is. Not a drive, a test of a promise you never knew you were relying on. Every other highway you've ever been on has whispered the same thing under the noise of the engine. You are not really alone out here. Help is closer than you think. The country has your back. The Dalton says the opposite, plainly, for 414 miles. It says the country ends where the pavement does, and past that there is only you, your truck, the cold, and whatever you brought with you. That is why the men who drive it for a living still fear it, even now, even with modern rigs and GPS and decades of experience stacked up behind them. It isn't that they don't know the road, it's that they know it too well. They know that Atigun doesn't care how many times you've crossed it. They know that 80 below is not a story. It's a number that was really measured, right there beside the gravel. They know that the nearest help is not down the road, because up here there is no down the road. There is only the long white line of the pipeline running north into the dark, and the wind coming off the top of the world, and a road that was built for no one, keeping the only promise it ever made.